Columbus, Georgia, this is your City Council. Mayor, Skip Henderson. City Manager, Isaiah Hughley. Pops Barnes, District 1. Glenn Davis, District 2. Bruce Huff, District 3. Toya Tucker, District 4. Charmaine Crabb, District 5. Gary Allen, Mayor Pro Tem and District 6. Mimi Woodson, District 7. Walker Garrett, District 8. Judy Thomas, Post 9 at-large counselor. John House, Post 10 at-large counselor.
Sandra Davis, Clerk of Council.
And City Attorney Clifton Fay. Columbus, Georgia, this is your City Council.
28th meeting of the Columbus City Council. We appreciate you being here as we go about the business of the people. And we are going to begin these proceedings as we begin all of our meetings, and that is by asking for God's presence in this facility. So I'm going to invite to the podium Pastor Corey Neal from Greater Peace Baptist Church of Columbus, Georgia. Pastor Neal, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, let us pray. God, we say thank you for the awesome and wonderful God that you are. God, we're grateful that you allowed us to see a new day and given us new mercies. God, continue to bless our city, continue to help it to flourish. Continue, God, to put your right hand of power on this great city and great county. God, be with our leaders. Give them simply the wisdom of Solomon. God, allow them to govern according to your will, your way, and your word. God, in the midst of so much going on in the nation and the world, we're still yet trusting in you, putting our faith in you. Continue to bless, continue to heal, continue to touch. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pastor Neal, thank you, sir, and thank you, church. You guys have always been willing to participate in whatever's going on in the community. I know I've seen you at vaccination sites and test sites during the height of COVID. And so just thank you for taking the church outside the walls and being such a great steward. Thank you, sir. All right, if you would, please join me in a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Council, you should have received a copy of the minutes from June 21st council meeting and executive session. There's a motion and a second to receive those minutes. Are there any edits or any questions or comments about them? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Before we go any farther, although it's sort of one of those bittersweet things, in January, our longtime council member Mimi Woodson will be retiring from public service. But we have with us tonight the young lady who has won a spot to replace Councilor Woodson. And Joanne, if you'd stand, just let us recognize you, Joanne Coley. Congratulations on your victory, and I know we look forward, I speak for everybody when I say we look forward to working with you come January. All right, very quick COVID update, primarily because we've got the 4th of July coming up, and it seems like over the last 2 or 3 years, every time we've hit a holiday where people are encouraged to gather and celebrate, we want them to do that. We want to encourage them to do so responsibly, though, and if they don't feel well, skip this one and just listen or watch the fireworks on television. But we have seen a little bit of an increase in those that are hospitalized. We now have somewhere right around 35 who are in all of our area hospitals. Much better than it was during the peak of this pandemic, but still a concern. There have been a few others that have found their way into the ICU, which is really unusual, considering the new strains are typically, while they may stick with you a little longer, they typically don't have as severe of symptoms. But so we'd urge you to celebrate responsibly and be careful. And while we're on the subject of the 4th of July, please remember that the animals in our community A lot of them don't behave well and get kind of nervous. So if you can, consolidate your parties and try to minimize the number of fireworks going off throughout neighborhoods. All right. And that's all I've got on my agenda. So we'll move on now to the city attorney. Mr. Fay?
All right, thank you, Mayor. Got a fairly short business agenda tonight. First item up is the vote on the ordinance providing for the urban service districts and the business improvement districts. It is ready for action.
Move approval.
All right, there's a motion by the budget chair, and there's a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, please cue it, and councilors, please register your votes. And that is approved.
All right, next item is the vote on the millage rate for our school system. It's 23.321 mils, same as last year.
Motion second to approve the ordinance regarding the millage for the school district. Any discussion? Hearing none, please register your votes. And that's approved.
All right, third item is the housekeeping measure on the new Director of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. It's ready for a vote.
Motion second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, please cue it. Councilors, you can enter your votes. That's approved.
All right, now we've got some zoning hearings, Mayor. I will call them up one at a time. First one is 418 Fifth Avenue. They want to go from residential multifamily 2 to residential office. Ms. Johnson's here from the Housing Authority, and if there are any questions around the table, we'll get her up. All right.
Doesn't appear to be any.
Anybody want to comment in the audience for or against? Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson. We'll vote on that at the first July meeting. Appreciate it. Next zoning item is 8828 Veterans Parkway, going from residential estate 1 to planned use development. Recommended for approval, it's Tiger Creek Development. Mr. Erickson is here. Are there any questions around the table?
No, sir.
Okay, anybody for or against in the audience? Pretty quiet. Well, thank y'all for being here. We'll vote at the July meeting, the first July meeting. July 12th at 9 a.m. Thank you. Our last zoning hearing is for property at 2313 Manchester Expressway, going from neighborhood commercial to general commercial. It's recommended for approval, and Mr. David Moore is here, and it's ready for any questions if there are any around the table.
No, sir.
All right, anybody in the audience for or against? Don't see any hands, so we'll vote on that in July. Mr. Moore, thank y'all for being here. Okay, Mayor, the last item we've got is our annual resolution on paying for legal services during the year.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, please register your votes. Need one more, I think. And that's approved.
All right, believe it or not, Mayor, that's all we had listed. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. All right, we'll move to the public agenda, and as we do with the public agenda, I'll remind you that you'll have 5 minutes. If you're unable to complete your comments in 5 minutes, we can reserve 3 additional minutes at the end of the clerk's agenda at the end of the meeting. And I would ask you to start by stating your name and your address. And once you do that, then we'll start the timer. First up is Mr. Harry Underwood. He's representing the Fountain City Fairness Coalition regarding the status of the non-discrimination ordinance, the LGBTQ liaison, and LGBT resources on the city's website. Welcome, Mr. Underwood. State your name and your address, and we'll start the timer.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. My name is Harry Underwood, and I live on 8082 Veterans Parkway in District 6. So today I'd like to call for I don't know if they have the my slideshow or presentation available but I don't know but I'll go ahead without it if it's not available.
Mr. City Manager? No.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'd like to once again bring up the issue of the need for the non-discrimination ordinance here in Columbus, and marking that this is Pride Month and also the month that we mark Juneteenth. I'd also like to bring up some history regarding our not only our local history but also its roots in national history as well. So June 19th, we celebrated Juneteenth as a federal holiday for the first time nationally, marking the event in June 19th, 1865, when people who were enslaved in Galveston, Texas, were told for the first time by Union soldiers that they were free. And also in June, on June 28th, actually this day, over 50 years ago, the Stonewall riots happened in Greenwich Village in New York City, which marked the beginning of the modern LGBT rights movement here in Georgia, in the United States. But also, I'd like to mark that it was during this time back in 1971, running from June to July 1971, when a series of protests happened here in Columbus, actually in downtown Columbus, regarding discrimination against African-American police officers in the Columbus Police Department. And what resulted was a massive protest, and it even involved groups like the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and leaders like the late Hosea Williams, who helped to organize these protests. And these protests led to the enactment of the first non-discrimination ordinance, which protects currently city workers from discrimination on just a few factors. And I just want to bring up also that that Georgia is one of 5 states in the Union, alongside North Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, and Texas, which does not protect against or have public accommodations protections for non-disabled individuals. Columbus also does not protect against public accommodations or private employment discrimination in our city code of ordinances, not even on the basis of race or sex. Georgia does not protect against discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity under state law, although several cities here in Georgia already do, including Athens and most recently, I believe, Augusta as well. So Columbus right now is the largest city in the state that does not protect against it protects its own residents from discrimination in housing, public accommodations, and many other categories. So the reason, without public protection against public accommodation discrimination, Columbus is impacted by a long history of racial segregation along Macon Road. And why is this a problem that we don't have in NDO? When people have only federal protections against a certain type of discrimination, filing a federal lawsuit is more costly to the claimant. Filing an expensive and time-consuming lawsuit does little to resolve the situation quickly. While there are federal statutes that protect some people, LGBT residents and visitors have a patchwork of federal law and no state recourse when discrimination happens. And several other issues arise here in this city. So that's why I call for a non-discrimination ordinance for Columbus this Pride Month. It would send a message that Columbus protects all residents from discrimination. It raises our municipal equality index score according to the Human Rights Campaign. It improves our profile in the eyes of businesses and other employers, reduces the cost of resolving discrimination claims by handling them locally first, and helps fight the historic residential segregation that impacts us to this day. What it would not do, it would not violate religious liberty. It would not impede upon small business. It would not violate privacy, and it would not use vague, confusing language. And what is holding us back? It's been over a year since the non-discrimination ordinance resolution was passed back last spring. There's a lot of lies and invective against LGBT people locally. And then there's the idea that Columbus is so different from other cities that we don't need this ordinance. But you can talk to several elected officials here in Columbus and who are not just LGBT, but also are heterosexual, who are cisgender. You can talk to Kathy Wooler, the former Atlanta City Council president, Jesse Houle, Athens Clark Commission, Jordan Johnson, Augusta Richmond Commission. You can talk to Curtis Purdy of Savannah City Council, Steffi Kuntz from Doraville City Council, or Phil Boyum from Statesboro City Council. And I would like to, can I get one more?
You got 6 seconds.
6 seconds. I'd like to ask for the city to create an LGBT resource page on the city website like in other U.S. cities and appoint a new LGBT liaison to the mayor's office.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you very much. And today actually is Pride Day. So your attendance here and your advocation is perfectly timed. Thank you for all that you do to try to make sure that people in Columbus are all welcome and all treated the same. All right. Next is Mr. Timothy Veals regarding neighborhood paper, overgrown grass, and rundown house. And I don't see Mr. Veals. Okay. And should he show up before the end of the agenda, we'll allow him his time. Next, Ms. Becky Carter, representing Animal SOS, spay, neuter opportunities, and medical care at Columbus Animal Control Center. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you. Thank y'all for giving me a few minutes of your time. And for those I haven't met yet, I am Becky Carter. I'm the founder and executive director of Animal SOS. Today, most people know Animal SOS because of our transfers program where we have sent over 2,000 dogs out
Becky,
of this area. Sorry.
For the record, you stated your name. Would you state your address, please?
8734 Waitsville Road.
Thank you.
In Columbus. Thank you. But when we started in 2011, Animal West started with animal owner support programs and then expanded into spay-neuter programs. Our owner support programs serve special populations such as seniors, disabled, veterans, and we have done some spay-neuter services in that population up to 2015. Nationally, during COVID, animal organizations learned the value of offering assistance to keep pets with their owners and building community support systems that help everyone be responsible owners. And this is a topic you will hear a lot more about in the future. But today I wanted to start the discussion that didn't get addressed during the presentation that Ms. Short gave you a few weeks ago. That presentation concentrated on efforts to get the animals out of their facility. But I'm here to talk to you about one of the ways to have fewer come in. Yet, spay-neuter is just not about population control, although that is important. There are also health and behavior benefits spaying or neutering offers their pets and their owners. The graph that Ms. Short showed, intake in 2010 was over 7,600 animals. That was the year Paws opened their clinic. Intake peaked in 2012 at just shy of 8,000. 4 years after, the number was down almost half, with 2016 being the lowest number of just over 4,200. And we feel that is largely due to all the spay-neuter efforts that's been going on in our community. So I wanted to take a minute tonight to use this platform to let the public know there are many low-cost or no-cost opportunities to have their pets altered so they can participate in helping us solve our problems. Paws currently has 3 programs available. 2 are zip code specific for 31903 and 31901. This grant offers more services than just spay-neuter, so anybody in those zip codes that need help with their pets, please give Paws a contact. They are also starting a new program, which they're calling their Neighborhood Pet Support System. And this program, again, can offer assistance to owners. You can get pet supplies, you can work with behavior. So hopefully this will be a way to also keep pets from having to come into the system. Paws doesn't forget cats and all the efforts we've had in our community for our community cats. They continue to offer services, traps, and everything for people to fix any cute little kittens they start feeding before they become a dozen. For people outside of Muskogee County, they also can help them for just a small $35 charge. But I'm SOS, so let me talk about me for a minute. We were proud in 2015 to join community-wide PitFix spay-neuter programs with PitFix. We had been doing the spay-neuters under the owner support, and originally PitFix was only available in Muskogee County. but it is recently expanded to both Harris and Russell counties also. Basically, if you have a pit bull type dog in any of these counties, you call Paws Humane, you call Affordable Vet and say you want a pit fix appointment. You have to show proof of residency, a power bill, a driver's license, whatever, and it's no cost to the owner. We also have a smaller program called SNP, or Spay Neuter Your Pet, which offers no-cost opportunities to low-income households. And there's an application for that on our website, which is animalsosfoundation.org. One of our other spay-neuter programs is Hip to SNP. And this program is available to the impounded animals at Animal Control, not to the public. While last year we were able to help over 400 pets, we've had some challenges this year due to the staffing shortages, and we've done less than 100. It is our desire that we reach a point where all dogs leaving CACC will be altered unless health reasons prevent it. This method would eliminate our current voucher system, requiring the adopter to schedule the surgery and provide proof it had been completed in the 30-day time window, freeing up staff time, whether it's the desk issuing the voucher, the administration and enforcement and following up on the voucher, the finance department and refunding the voucher to the vet. All that goes away, and the vets don't have to do extra paperwork either. It's simply more efficient to take care of it when they're still impounded. On a quick side note, I do want to clarify the procedures when an injured or sick animal is impounded. If Dr. Hall, as shelter supervisor, recommends a dog going to the vet for medical treatment, the city does not have funds to do that. Animal SOS takes the majority of the calls. There's been 86 so far this year. As Ms. Short explained, they have very limited meds on site and no ability to do blood or
Ms.
fecal
Carter,
tests.
I hate to do
Okay,
this.
that's about it.
No,
Thank you.
I'm the bad guy. Yeah, I apologize, but
I know it's flashing,
we
but
can't, no. So let's do, if you've got time to stick around, we can get 3 more minutes. But what I was going to ask you too is if there's any way that maybe we could get either you or Paws to come in and walk through all of the different grants and services that are available. Let us start running that on CCGTV, and that way council can, as individuals, we can share that and put it out on our social media pages and try to get that out. Because even when y'all tell us about it, I try to tell them, I go, well, there is one that's called, I can't remember what it's called. So if we can get that to where we're able to share it in electronic format, then maybe we can get the word out better. Because I got to say that the partnership that you guys and some of the other volunteers and rescue organizations create with our staff, that's what helps us hold the number down. And so we want to try to make sure that you guys have access to the tools to get that word out.
And if you could help get the word out to the community how to be a responsible pet owner, that would be awesome.
We will do that. We'll talk to Mike King here, and I'm sure he'd be happy to let y'all do a short commercial on the different services that are available and how to access them. Councilor Woodson?
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. You answered most of it, but thank you for coming and giving us a brief explanation of your organization. It's very hard for the city just to be the only person doing things, so having a partner like yourself is very good. But I tend to agree with the mayor. We need something at our disposal that we can share with our constituents and individual. Because you were talking, I was trying to write, I couldn't write fast enough, so I went to your website. But if you could please do that for us, we really appreciate it, and thank you for helping.
Actually, I have a meeting with Paws Thursday afternoon talking about how we can get a little bit more collaborative in our efforts, so be perfect timing.
We'll get it set up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
All right, and did Mr. Veals show up by any chance? Mr. Veals, come on, sir. And I don't think you were here, but I think you've been here before, so you know you've got 5 minutes, and then I have to play the bad guy.
Well, good evening to everyone. Like I said, I'm still, like I said before, I know y'all got a...
Yeah, and if you would state
Busy.
your name and your address.
Oh, yeah. Timothy Bills, 1039 Brooks Road, Columbus, Georgia.
There you go.
All right. I know y'all got a hard job, but what my concern is was last year this time about the litter in Columbus. I talking about not only that, too, on the homeowner. I just ride through the neighborhood and look at some home all that trash be in the yard, so I talking about, you know, it ain't getting no better, it's getting worse. So I ask for the city, you know, you need to get with the homeowner and tell them they need to do a little bit better. And also, I try to keep the paper cut up on Head Street picked up, because I travel that street coming home and going out a lot. But the grass is so high, I gotta be looking for snake while I'm picking up the paper. So, you know, I appreciate it if the city can come back and cut the waterway on Head Street and Brooks Road. Because the grass is so high, but they say don't cut it but 2 times out of the year, so I don't think that's gonna work. Because the grass just about tall on me in some areas. So I appreciate if the city can help me out a little bit about keeping the grass cut. Don't scare a snake, you know, too much like snake. But I want to address that issue, but I also like these service stations in the area. They just filthy. I tell them, you're a business owner, you should be able to keep your place clean up right now. So bet you on one on folks being the road right there from the Pennsylvania High School. Every time I go by there, it's just full of paper, you know. And then there's a lot more in the area there too, but that's the main one I see all the time. But other than that, I think we need to try to get a plan that it's just a lot of litter around, because around on Casita Road, Fort Benning Road, Benning Drive, Brook Road, Once Road. Yeah, that's a big one I'm concerned about. That's about it.
No, well, listen, we know that you've made a personal attempt to try to pick up some of the litter in your area, and I think you're right. Right now, for whatever reason, the irresponsibility of people that will throw stuff out their car windows, dump it out there when they're at a stop sign, is ridiculous. It's unlike anything I've seen in our community. We're better than that. And the city cannot be at every intersection in a 220 square mile community. We have to rely on the individuals and the people that live in the neighborhoods to get involved too. Or the best way to keep litter picked up is to not put it down there in the first place. Now, I don't want to turn the community into a bunch of vigilantes, but if you see somebody that throws something out of their vehicle and you can get a tag number, we will enforce the law on those folks. If you see trash strewn out there on the side of the road, you call our folks. We'll look for a credit card receipt or a utility bill, and if we find an address, we'll go enforce the law on them. So I'm not trying to put it on the citizens. I'm just saying that it's all of our responsibility. Mr. Hughley?
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, when Mr. Veals is done, I would like to call on Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin to talk about a citywide neighborhood cleanup effort.
Okay. Mr. Fields, anything else? Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Mr. Veal, you came at the right time. Thank you, sir, for bringing that up, and we're going to respond to you on some things that we have planned. We are working on a citywide campaign that's called All Hands on Deck. I will be contacting each of our council members, and what you're getting right now is the press release that's going to be going out this evening. And attached to that is a list of all of the captains for our neighborhood watch programs and our homeowners associations by district. So what the intent is for, and I started this yesterday, I've already started with District 1, contacting you first to tell me the priority of which you want us to go in and meet with those particular representatives. We're going to go into the neighborhoods. It will be myself, of course, it's going to be inspections and codes, public works, Metro, Parks and Rec, all those departments that have amenities in particular areas. We want the neighborhoods to help us help them, if you will. Because it's all hands on deck. We know the city is dirty. There's a lot of trash out there. We can't do it alone. And this is an effort to help, to get the neighborhoods to help us do that. So we want them to have those neighborhood champions to actually go out and to scavenge, canvass their areas, pick up the trash. We're going to provide them everything that they need. We're going to then send the resources in to pick all of that up. Whatever area we're in, we will bring in the grab balls. We're going to bring in to pick up the brown waste, the bulky waste, and then also the bagged waste. Whatever they pick up, we're going to get that cleaned up neighborhood by neighborhood, but it's going to take the neighborhood to help us do that. And so that's the effort that we're looking to do by district. Again, we've already identified a couple that we're going to start in District 1. Your districts are on there. If the individuals that are listed on that sheet are not still, that you know of, are not those persons that we need to be talking with and we need to talk with others, please let me know. Just let me know, and then let me know, of course, which of your areas you want us to begin with. I'm going to be making those calls personally to those captains so that we can get a date scheduled so that we can go in and get this started. So it's our all hands on deck campaign just to get the entire community involved with helping us to get things cleaned up.
Councilor Garrett?
I do still believe in the idea I've told the other councils about. Now that we've raised the fine to $1,000 for littering, I really would like to know the legality of if we could provide a bounty of some sort to the citizens, because it takes a lot of incentive for somebody to follow them around. I mean, the city manager did it because he loves the city and he works with us, but you know, there are a lot of people out there who, if they had some sort of financial incentive, would actually take the time to take a picture, because I drive around my neighborhood and pick up trash in my golf cart, and I'll see people throwing it out. Unfortunately, I can't catch up to them in my golf cart, but yeah, I really think we need to consider it, because if we want all hands on deck, that would be a way to do it. And we've already increased the fee, so it wouldn't be any financial burden on the city.
Absolutely.
But I'd like to know the legality of that and whether we could do it.
Councilor Garrett, I had a car in front of me just the other day up here at Rigdon and Macon throwing trash out. I took a picture of that tag, sent it to the police chief, and they took care of that.
And I think that could lead to a decrease in crime, because people who throw trash out, I bet probably 1 in 10 of them, we probably find something criminal going on or some sort of a warrant, just because most considerate citizens don't do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything else?
No, sir. That's it. Thank
All
you.
right, well, it's your agenda anyway, so we'll move on to you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First on my agenda, I've got requesting approval to modify 2 resolutions that we did with the Community Development Block Grant.
All right, there's a motion and a second to make those amendments. Any discussion? Hearing none, please cue your votes, and councilors, you can enter your votes. And go ahead and explain what these are.
And Mr. Mayor, these are the grants funding, feeding the Valley facility expansion. You're familiar with that, and what we've done is reduced the amount of the grant by $500,000 related to cold storage removal, and so we were just asking you to modify those resolutions.
Okay. And they were approved.
So next, I've got requesting approval to accept and amend.
All right, we have a motion to approve item 2 as well as the purchases, all the purchases A through E. That's not it?
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
All right, I'm working off the old agenda, I guess. All right, well, there's a motion to approve item 2 and 3, and 3 is not the purchases. Any discussion on either of those items? All right, you can, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, they're approved.
And so number 2 was 2022 AARP Community Challenge Grant, $6,800, and it's to fund some metal swing benches for Metra at their transfer center. And then I've got the Columbus Fire EMS Global Grant. It's $3,072.50, and it's to fund smoke detectors for distribution to the public And those were the first three. And then we've got purchases. Mayor, we've got state mandated solid waste disposal fees.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to approve A through F on the purchases. Is there any purchase that anybody would like to have pulled for discussion? All right, all in favor of those, please signify by saying aye. If there's any opposed, like sign. All right, they're approved. If you would, go through the purchases.
So the first one is something we bring to you annually. We've got to pay the state mandated solid waste disposal fees related to the tonnage that we put into the landfill. And then I've got inmate mental health services for the jail and for the prison. And that's B. And C is fire intrusion prevention equipment, supplies and services. It's an annual contract, and that annual contract is estimated $100,941. D, contract extension for security surveillance equipment, public works, and miscellaneous locations. The contract extension is necessary to allow time for the RFP to be advertised and awarded. And then I've got replacement street sweepers for public works, $4,510. And then we've got F, which was an add-on at their tandem axle trailers, and for Parks and Recreations Department. Those are the purchases, Mayor, that we...
Okay, they have been approved.
Yeah, okay. And then I've got a few updates. The first one...
Hey, excuse me, Councilor Thomas.
Mr. City Manager, I know that Chief Scarpa is going to give us an update, but if it's not in his update, would one of you at some point talk to us, give us the information on how our citizens can apply for and get the smoke detectors? I know that that's a program that we've been doing for some time, but a lot of our citizens don't know how to do that.
Sure.
So either if you not already included in your presentation, if you would do that, Chief Scarpa, I think that would be good information for us to have.
That's great. I'm going to call on the Finance Director first.
We have one more counselor. Counselor Woodson?
Yes. I would like to make a request to the Finance Director. If you can look at, for next year's budget, the millage rate, I feel like it's about time that the district, 2 and 4, to see about increasing their millage. I know that everyone always says, well, most of the services are done in the center of the city, but up north has really been developed quite a bit now, to the extent. And I just feel it's time to share a little bit on that burden. So if you can just look at that for the next budget session. I won't be here, but my successor is here, and I'll be talking to her about it to see if we can do at least a little adjustment. Nothing you have to do today.
Sure.
But if you will look at it and get back with me, and I can, we can talk about it and we can go. I understand that there's some entities that they don't have that we have in the center, in the urban of the community, but with all the development going in the northern part, you have Old Town, you have all these new development. There should be a little bit more lenience on the urban district holding the bulk of 17 point something. I think we need to share that little 17th a little bit with the other two districts.
So, Mr. Mayor and Madam Council, we will take a look at it and at some point have a discussion. I think you're talking about Urban Service District 1 and 2, where,
Just so little.
So, but we'll have conversations about that.
Yes, years ago, I brought it up, and I was told, well, it's not really developed that much, and most of the service, and it takes time to get, ambulance, but that area has grown tremendously. The only way this city's gonna grow is north anyway. So we need to look at taking some of that burn off the center of Columbus and push it a little bit out north too. So just want you to look at it and see what we can do, okay?
Okay.
And then, City Manager, wanted to ask you if you can get in touch with, I think it's Griffin and Griffin? Or whoever's the towing company that we're using now, because just today, I was on the highway between St. Mary's Road and Victory Drive. It looked like there was an accident, and the whole front bumper was still on the highway.
Okay.
And, I see this along the cities. I called you once before about one, but they need to do a better job.
Sure.
Because we're complaining about litter and all the things were going on. Well, we need our partners, our vendors, to make sure that they clean up after themselves and the debris. And if they can't, then let us know so it can be taken care of.
Okay.
And my last one is to the clerk of council. Can you put yes for the first, I think it was 3 or 4 that went by? Thank you, that's it. Sorry
So-
about that, City Manager.
No problem.
Interrupted.
One more, Counselor Davis.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till are you almost finished starting your presentations?
Hadn't started.
I'm about to start the updates.
Okay, good. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you about a few things. Got 3 things, Mr. City Manager, and they can come, referrals, wherever, you put them somewhere, but let's just put them out there for opportunities and ideas to improve our city. Since you talked about earlier about the litter situation, one of the things I mentioned not long ago was that we might want to look into some equipment, mainly skid steer, maybe drum mulchers, things like that. It's a different type of equipment than bush hogs and things that we normally use to cut our right-of-ways. But one of the things that I've noticed around our community is the right-of-ways, not like the gentleman is talking about, but our right-of-ways are severely getting overgrown. And what really brought this to my attention was just riding up and down Veterans Parkway, heading down 27 into Harris County. Literally, the growth is right on top of the road. Right on top of the road. And there's a lot of roads in our community where the growth is there. Bush hog's not going to solve the problem. We're going to have to cut these back. Animals, the traffic hazards that are there now, the animals can just walk right out. You'll never see them. And some of these issues, but they haven't been tended to in a long time. And you're going to need a certain type of equipment to deal with this kind of stuff. You see the DOT all up and down the highways now using some of this equipment to cut the brush back because it's encroaching and starting to grow into the highways. But I'm seeing this all around our community. It's just kind of FYI, just put it out there when you have your conversations to talk about that. But that's something that we need to really start looking at. I'm sure Councilor Allen and some of the, as you get further out from the core of our city, you tend to see a lot of it. And it's not one of those issues that you can just take a bush hog out there and solve the problem. You're going to need some special equipment to do it. So I wanted to mention that to you. The other thing is, along the lines of the litter aspect, I've often thought that Keep Columbus, one of the things that I would like to see Keep Columbus Beautiful explore is to go out and establish relationships with our business community. We've got businesses all over the community, and you see this a lot in the Asian and European countries. They do this a lot, but people take pride in their property perimeters or their street fronts. And one of the things that I felt like we could do is start establishing the relationships. Maybe, going into the neighborhoods may work, but establishing the relationships with the businesses on our main roads and thoroughfares and seeing if they would maybe volunteer and allow some of their employees maybe dedicate some hours, or they could go out once a month and just kind of, you know, keep the area clean. I think that would make a world of difference. If you're talking about uniting everybody, I think that's one thing that can work. And I think they would do it if somebody just picked up the phone and called them and said, hey, would you join the team? I think they would really do it, and it could make a big difference. But a lot of times they just rely on the landscapers and people like that to do it, and it doesn't get done. But if they were to dedicate the employees to go out there and as part of the job for the month and do it, I think it would really improve our community. And the last one I want to mention, I'm going to throw some of my family members under the bus, but I do have some family members who are visiting from Korea. And they've been here, and they just got back from a trip down in Florida, and they visited a lot of places. And, you know, one of the questions that came up to me, they asked me this. And I've talked about it before, mainly about our gateways, improving our gateways. They asked us why we didn't have any signage or welcoming people to our city, our community, because they were driving through Florida and Key West and coming back. They even mentioned Phoenix City, Opelika, places like that. They mentioned, okay, this is a foreigner. They mentioned they saw all these greeting signs, but they said, why doesn't Columbus have any kind of greeting? And I got to thinking about that, and we have talked about this before, Mayor. We have where cities, you see them all through our state, and it does improve your image. I know it probably costs a little money, but it does improve your image in your community. And maybe that's something that we can explore, how to improve our gateways. You know, I was talking about the right-of-way issues. One, I would like us also to get in touch with the DOT and maybe come up with a plan to improve the overpass going down the J.R. Allen, going over into Phoenix City. That bridge is our bridge, I believe, right? That's our bridge. I went over it just a few days ago, and it's a mess. And the gateway there, the growth is just all over the place too. I've said this before, it's a hazard. It just needs to be cleaned up, because that is a gateway coming into our city. So hopefully, you know, there can be some joint efforts in this. And look, if y'all want to work on the weekend, call me. I'll come down there with my truck, my tools, and people know it. I mean, I'll get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty and sweat a little bit. And I don't mind getting down there and helping clean up as well. But just a plan to help improve that, I think, would go a long way. So I'm just throwing those things out as ideas to improve our community. Since you brought up the all hands on deck matter, I just figured I would do it, Mr. City Manager, since it's your agenda, and I'm just presenting them as referrals, basically, so for conversation. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, and we have been working on gateway signs, so that you know. I've had Deputy City Manager Hodge working on it, and there was a gentleman in the audience who works for Metra, Robert Sheridan, and I hate that he left, because he did a complete citywide, he studied all of the other cities for me, brought all of the examples that they have, and presented some possibilities for us. His name is Robert Sheridan, and he works for Metra, and he was there just a few minutes ago, but he walked out. But so I wanted you to know that he's done a complete study for us, and so we are on it and interested in. In fact, I was somewhere and sent you a picture last week. I was out of town and saw a gateway sign and sent it to the Deputy City Manager, because we need to make that happen.
Councilor
and Mayor, if I may mention before I go, I believe he's talking about Oglethorpe Bridge going into Phoenix City, or are you talking about the northern?
280?
Okay,
Yeah, that's Oglethorpe.
Okay. Yeah, but I was just going to say that we are in the process of replacing Georgia DOT, the Oglethorpe Bridge, which is down by the Civic Center.
Councilor Thomas?
Mr. City Manager, I think that Councilor Davis hit on something that I was having a conversation with several folks just the other day. We were in Northwest Florida, driving back to Columbus on Highway 431. There is not a single sign on Highway 431 north into Columbus that says anything at all about, we're here, this is what we have to offer, these are, this is the longest urban whitewater. I mean, none of that is on 431, and this may be something that the Development Authority may need to look into, or other businesses or whatever, but I would imagine that there are a lot of people who make that trip up 431 and do that little loop around and go right on out to Atlanta and bypass Columbus and downtown Columbus and the restaurants and so forth that we have in downtown Columbus that are, top of the class. So that may be another source to do what some of the things that Councilor Dave, and it's not just 431. I think we can do it on other roads coming into Columbus and encourage our businesses in town to make sure that people know we're here and what we have to offer. We have a world-class city here, and we can offer things that others can't. So come on into Columbus and have lunch.
Sure.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
Councilor Tucker.
While this is not an external signage, it's more of an internal. Ms. Sylvia Bunn from Mildred Terry Library said it's nothing pointing that Mildred Terry Library is on there on Veterans Highway. I wasn't aware of that until we just did this Juneteenth event, and I told her I was gonna mention it to you, but since everybody's talking about signs, I thought I'd go ahead and add that in for Miss Sylvia Bunn. And also, when we did the Heritage Trail Bike Tour, we noticed some things about some of the markers, like it being on the opposite side where individuals could not have access to it. I'm trying to think, on 10th, close to the RC Cola area. Yeah. But it's amazing when you actually take a tour of your city, when you start realizing how a visitor might see things. Yeah. But it was very interesting to see that it's just small things, but it does matter.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, when I had Robert Sheridan to do the sign study, one of the things I asked him to include, and it reminded me of that just a couple of weeks ago. I flew out of Columbus, and as I was going up the escalator at the Atlanta airport, I'm Mayor Andre Dickens, welcome to Atlanta, and it tells you something about Atlanta. And I don't know if you've flown out of our airport, but you get the big city feel now. I mean, right now. I'm saying with the upgrades that they've done, it is awesome, the Columbus airport. But when I got off the plane to come back into Columbus, and I just wonder, why can't I hear my mayor say, and I'm Mayor Skip Henderson, welcome to Columbus, Georgia, and just like Andre Dickens in Atlanta. I mean, yeah, you got a photo. So why can't we have that at our airport in Columbus, Georgia? In fact, we just put in the T-Splosh, we added $25 million for the airport for additional, but if you haven't flown out of the Columbus airport recently, it is awesome. You have the big city feel, I'm just telling you, go check it out. If you're not gonna fly, just go out there and check it out. But, and none of the hassle. I flew into it, yeah, absolutely. And so I'm saying this on air because I want them to hear it about the mayor's intro into Columbus, Georgia. If they can do it in Atlanta, and they were doing it, I flew into Norfolk, Virginia, they're doing it up there. We can do it here in Columbus.
I'll tell you what, if they won't let me do a commercial like that, you can tell me when you're coming in and I'll greet you and I will welcome you. No,
But
but
anyway.
I agree with you. It's turned in, they've really done an incredible job. And by the way, we've got to continue to fly local. We've got to continue to utilize that airport or we'll lose those carriers that have come into town.
Yeah.
It's numbers driven.
Yeah. So, but Council Davis and Council Thomas and Tucker, we heard you. We have those as referrals, and we will work on those things.
Councilor Woodson?
Yeah, can you add something else there? I did tell Uptown Columbus when I was down there talking to him, I went to Tennessee, and in their downtown, in one of the cities that I went in Tennessee, they had this big picture frame, and it said, I love, the name of the city, and it had plants and all kinds of stuff, and it made everybody want to stop there and take, pictures. So you might add something like that to the airport or, to Uptown. I mentioned it to him that now you go to different cities and they have where you're going to take a picture.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to take a picture of where you were so your family know where you've been to. But I tend to agree. I've used the Columbus Airport twice now, and it's beautiful.
Oh, goodness.
It is amazing.
It is.
They have the little kid area, and it's very welcoming, too.
Yeah.
It's very bright.
We have a very nice airport.
But
Okay.
that's something I wanted to throw in there, too. People like to take pictures. I just came from Florida, and when Glenn was talking, it's right. All it says is welcome to, Miami. Welcome to Key West. That's all it says, but they're very, pretty. So just a little flair to it where people can take pictures. I went to this museum and the gentleman, the Courier Museum, I think it's called, the guy did it all out of brick, all out of rocks from the bottom. And they had his picture there, just standing there, and people just go. The line was long just to take a picture with him. In Key West, all it is a rock. It's a rock, red, white, and blue. And it said 90 miles to Cuba. And the line was the whole block and going around that people wanted to go there and take a picture. So maybe with Katie the Cow in Uptown, that will happen. But Chicago got the Bean. Everyone wants to go to the Bean and take a picture at the Bean. So just to add some more to it.
So, Ms. Mayor, I've got the finance director here. She's going to tell you why the South Scarpa Chief of Fire EMS is here. And then I'm going to ask him to talk about the the smoke detectors, as Councilor Thomas asked about. So with that, Finance Director Angelica Alexander.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, members of council. So the Fire and EMS Department is here pursuant to Ordinance 13-39 that says if a department or elected office is expected or will exceed or have exceeded their budgeted appropriations, they must come before this council and request additional appropriations. And so as you may recall, back in December, council approved retention bonuses for public safety. It was stated by either myself or HR Director Retha Hollowell at the time how we plan to fund those retention bonuses. Most were funded through existing salary savings within the departments, with the exception of Fire and EMS, just due to the lower, I should say, turnover rate in the department. We anticipated that we have to utilize reserves to fund the bonuses. So in addition to the bonuses, they've also experienced some challenges these last few years as it relates to their auto parts and supply budget line item, just due to the city not having the appropriate staff to work on the apparatus for the fire department. They have to send that out to a private contractor, and so we incur labor costs in addition to the costs for the parts, as well as fuel. Fuel is taking us all by surprise, I should say, this year. So those are really the primary factors for the overage this fiscal year. I do anticipate we'll be all right. But the number that we anticipate that we'll need in additional appropriations for fire and EMS is about $2.3 million.
And so explain, we're going to be all right.
Well, just due to all the vacancies and some of the operational savings we've seen this fiscal year, I anticipate that the overages for fire and EMS will likely be covered by savings in various departments.
In where?
Various departments.
Yeah, so this was not a surprise to you?
No, it was not a surprise to me. We actually, made this comment back in December when the retention bonuses were approved by council. And, at the time, it was stated that it was reserves. I mean, it's all reserves.
But you also, then the chief is here and he can address this, but we also had a ton of overtime because as we went through COVID with the minimized staff, when guys would get sick or gals would get sick and they'd have to be quarantined for a while, they still had to put people on the trucks. So the overtime and the maintenance on a very old fleet of apparatus is what the primary culprit was. I know the bonuses had a big impact as well.
Yeah.
And I know the chief's prepared to talk about that, but it's mainly things that just weren't able, you couldn't
Yeah.
impact them.
But to your point about we're going to be all right, I think, we've got to remember we've had and continue to have a lot of vacancies in this government. And so at the end of the year, when it comes to finalizing our spending, our revenue, that we come around November, I believe it is.
Yes.
And we told you that the city attorney, we tell you where we're moving money from, but the bottom line, we don't exceed the bottom line. It's just that but we balance all city departments, and I think that's the point that she's making to you. So it wasn't a surprise that we're where we are with fire EMS.
That's correct.
So we do want to hear from the chief, and then we will need a motion to approve.
Councilor Thomas? Okay. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Manager, members of council, Sal Scarpa, Fire and EMS Chief. I don't have much to add to what's already been said. There's a handout that I've shared with the Madam Clerk that she'll share with you. It highlights kind of what we've talked about today. If you have more questions, I'll be glad to come back at another time and explain in more detail. But I think you have all the information that you need relative to our budget challenges. To Councilmember Thomas's point about smoke detectors, we do offer smoke detectors for any resident in the city of Columbus or in Muskogee County. Simply call the fire department's headquarters at 706-225-3500, and we will dispatch a company or resource out to get that smoke detector in your hands. You have to be a resident, a homeowner of a dwelling. It does not apply to apartment members or members who live in apartments, because that information or those resources are available through your apartment complex and apartment managers. We are in the midst of updating our website, which will probably be complete before the end of the year. At that time, members can go on our website and click a little button on the website to fill out a brief survey and get information to us that way, and we can send a resource out to install smoke detectors via that mechanism as well. I hope that answers your question. And I'm happy to answer any questions relative to our budget or to the smoke detectors or anything relative to the fire department.
Mr. Mayor, is a motion in order at this time?
It would be.
I would move that we approve the request from the fire and EMS.
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Councilor House, is this to the motion? No. Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Chief, thank you. We appreciate what you're doing under some trying times. We're still waiting on some of these apparatus to be delivered.
Chief, hold 1 second.
Yes, sir. Councilor House?
Would you say the phone number again, just a little slower?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. 706-225-3500 is our main number. It is also on our website, and we'll be glad to help you.
Thank you, Chief.
So did we get a approval?
Yeah.
Okay. And just, as one last comment from me, particularly as it relates to the budget for FY '22, we may have one or two that may have to come before this council for FY '22 at the next meeting. So, just a heads up.
Okay. Next, Mr. Mayor, we've got with us representatives from Valley Healthcare. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Martin, officer in charge, Valley Healthcare, and we've got Sarah Lane. I know that we all know Sarah Lane, and thank you, Ms. Lane, for being here, but let me just yield to Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Martin at this time.
Colonel, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Henderson, Columbus City Council members, staff, I thank you for giving me just a little bit of your time to talk to you about a really high-speed partnership that we have with Valley Healthcare and the good it's going to do your citizens. We have a PowerPoint presentation loaded up here, so I'd like to just walk you through this. By the way, this meeting and everything gives me a little flashback. I was chairman of the Board of Health in my town for 16 years, so I remember how this all works now. So thank you for your dedication, because I know it takes a lot. The first thing, I don't know if you've heard about something called Innovative Readiness Training. We call it IRTs. So it's a partner between a community organization like Valley Healthcare and Piedmont Hospital and military units from across the United States. And it fulfills a bunch of different strategic outcomes, one of which, there are really two big ones. One is training for us, okay? So the first thing is we want to get real-world training. So at this mission that when we come down here, we're going to be doing a lot of training for our members on things like TCCC, Trauma Combat Casualty Care. And all service members are required to have this nowadays at any level, non-medical, everything, to be able to treat in a mass casualty event. So that's number one. We do that. Then we also do training by just treating patients. I'm a dentist by trade. So I was in Kodiak, Alaska last May treating patients. So that's the other thing that accomplishes our aim. But bilaterally, we can help the community by providing no-cost care. And this is a really powerful mechanism. We provide basic medical services, such as sports screenings for kids before they go back to school, wellness services, health screenings and education, dental services, as I mentioned, exams, fillings, extractions, cleanings, optometry services. Up to this event, we didn't think we were going to get no units this year had been funded to have a naval mobile dental manufacturing unit. We got it. So we have Nostra coming. And so when we do eye exams at the Civic Center, we'll be able to make a custom pair of glasses for that individual and deliver them within a day or two. So we have that service. Also veterinary service. And Ms. Carter's mission previously, we can help with her mission. We've got 3 veterinarians coming from the Public Health Service. They're going to work with PAWS. They're going to be spaying and neutering. And we're also hoping to have them augment a vaccination day. So we do all these things, and then we also, but we don't want to do just episodic care and do this one little Band-Aid and then leave you. So this is where the tie-in with Valley Healthcare and Ms. Lang comes into play. And we have this great partnership where we're going to get them in their EMR, in their medical systems, so that if we identify health problems like diabetes and high blood pressure and things like that, we can try to find them a medical home. So we have, good things from all sides. Kodiak, Alaska, in the dental field, we can eliminate a lot of life-threatening infections. I had a sailor who was on fishing vessels, and they don't have any kind of insurance, and he was scheduled to be flown to Anchorage, which you have to go to get a tooth out, a difficult tooth that's severely infected, and there's no oral surgeons on Kodiak, and it was going to cost about $3,500 to get one tooth out, okay, because you got to fly him over there, you got to sedate him, you got to do all this. I took it out in about 15 minutes and got rid of that infection. So we'll be able to provide services like that, not just here in Columbus, but also in, we're going to be in Stewart County, Georgia, and in Beauregard, Alabama. So we fly people from all over the country, Navy, Army, Air Force, Public Health Service, bring them here, bed them down, feed them, and that's on us, and then deliver these services. So these are some of the priorities. So we have, the collaboration with the community, and we're very grateful that we have people like Ms. Sarah Lang who put in the community grants. And they had a community grant in 2020, and we were right up to completion, and then it was pulled because of COVID. So we feel very obligated that we serve them and your community this time around. And there have been tremendous cuts in the IRT budget. And so we've really had to flex to keep going. And we're doing that, and we're going to be here and do a good job. So it takes personal supplies and equipment, which we deliver. We fly in our own dental equipment and all this other. And then we just use a lot of the connections with Ms. Lang and a lot of their materials as well. So there's a few factors. We don't want to compete with anybody in your community. That's not our aim. So that's one of the big things. One of the other things that we will need some help with is, as we go along, and this is where we want to partner, and I will have a big ask at the end of this, by the way. But one of them is that we can't provide law enforcement. We can't provide any kind of security. So we'll be working with your sheriff's department, your police department to help us provide a little bit of that. So there are some regulations that we have to comply with. On the military service components, we align our training plan with the community partner. We've met 3 times. This is the 3rd time I've flown down here for initial planning meeting in January, mid-planning meeting in April, and now to try to really nail down a lot of the details. Our aim is to provide care for American people, American citizens, and help us get mission-ready forces. And as we see the things that are popping up around the world, we know we need that. The funding sources, the military department responsibility, the DOD provides the funds to the IRT. Like I said, those were cut by about 58% this year. So my unit, the 102nd Intelligence Wing up in Otis Air National Guard Base on Cape Cod, has had to provide a lot of the funding for this, and we're happy to do that. But also our community partners, Ms. Lang and Mr. Terry Parrish at Piedmont, they put in a lot of funding. Ms. Lang is supplying a mobile dental RV van that has 2 fully equipped dental operatories that we're going to be able to utilize. So that's really incredible that they're able to help us. So we've been through the planning phase. Now we're to the mission execution phase coming up in early August. So as I mentioned earlier, that's kind of the timeline. We did the initial, midterm, pre-assessment, final planning meeting. Mission start is going to be August 1. That's the first day of the big one. Next thing you see there is DV Day. I'd like to invite all of you to come to our Distinguished Visitors Day. That's going to be August 9th, and we will have a briefing to talk about the good we're doing, and we'll have numbers by then. We'll tour the Civic Center site. Then we'll go out to Providence Baptist Church in Beauregard, Alabama. We'll have a lunch provided by our food services, tour that site, and then we'll go down to Stewart County, Georgia, and see that remote site, and then end up at the Infantry Museum, so for a nice day. And this is also with a lot of our high-ranking officials, generals, admirals, people like that. So this is the timeline. On the first day, the August 1, the main body reports. We're setting up our clinics on day 2 to day 4. We're doing that. We do a soft start on August 4th. Gives you the dates there. Day 5 through 11, full clinic operations and training. And then we complete our clinic operations on August 12th, start packing up, and fly out on August 15th. And a lot of, we fly out by military air. We have KC-135s hauling our unit and other things like that. So the ask is to get the word out, okay? So I noted earlier with your PSA that you showed, that was really, really professionally done. That was very impressive that you had for your community event there. So we have a few guidelines that we have to go by. I can get those to your people on what we say no cost versus free. I mean, there's these little details that, these people like. So, so this is our request for assistance, and we really want to publicize dentistry, optometry, medical, veterinary, and use the media reach that you bring to the table through all your avenues, social media, print, TV, radio, cable, PSAs. Some of the intel so far, so this is the last mission in the cycle, the yearly cycle of Air National Guard-led missions. So this will be the fourth one. There was one in Hawaii, one in Birchwood, Tennessee, one in Cherokee Nation in northeast Oklahoma. And some of the intel that we've gotten so far is that some of them had a pretty slow start on getting patients to come out. So we want to do a full court press to really try to get the word out, and we'd like to, partner with you to utilize any resources that you have that can help us do that, because we want to do the greatest good and to accomplish our training as well. So that's my synopsis of the Innovative Readiness Training, and I'm certainly welcome to answer any questions.
Colonel Martin, welcome to Columbus, and we're excited about this opportunity, and I'm certain that we'll be able to assign somebody to help figure out the best way to promote this so that we have a very viable communication pipeline between our local churches. And I think we can help you get in with them as well. And also, he's not here, but I know Counselor Barnes, Pops Barnes, has been really focusing on this this IRT opportunity, and I know he and Ms. Lang have been in constant contact, so despite his absence, I wanted to make sure we kind of give him a shout out, because I know he's been working on it. Counselor Tucker?
Yes, this is awesome. Now, will the care that's being given, is that completely free, or is it a no cost? I know you. I'm a kid.
Shipping and handling is
I laugh
extra,
at this
though.
myself, but this is my superiors say, and the DOD, the SecDef says it's no cost instead of free, but it is completely free.
Okay, only reason why I was asking, because the whole dentistry, that's probably like one of the dentistry and optometry, I would say, are probably like the two key things that a lot of times people can't get access to. So especially that dentistry part, the amount of money it costs to pull a tooth, and I lived in Alaska. That was one of my duty stations in Anchorage. So I can imagine what you went through. I lived in Wasilla. So, but dentistry part, I just want to make sure if I'm promoting, no cost means you will not have any out-of-pocket expense when you all kick off.
That's it, none.
Okay.
People that we're bringing?
We're bringing in about 160 people from all over the country, every different kind of service, doctors, nurse practitioners, PAs, every level, and then of course all the support staff. So we have our food services that will be cooking all our meals. We're paying for all our own meals and cooking them. Our partners at the Civic Center, they've been fantastic at letting us use their facility, use their kitchen facilities, all those things like that. So it's been a great partnership to date, and we think we're going to have a great IRT, so we're very appreciative, and very appreciative of Ms. Lang, if you want to say something.
Thank you. It is a great opportunity to be able to provide the training for our Department of Defense. They've helped me in the past, helping us build our clinic facility in Talbot County, and that was for the civil engineers. And now to have the nearly 200 medical professionals coming in to our town to complete their training, it has been a phenomenal experience, and just wanting you to be engaged and be a part of this, bringing this training to our community. So I just appreciate Mayor Henderson starting this 2 years ago, and now to be able to actually see it come to reality this year. So I thank you and your support and the Department of Defense.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilor Huff?
Lieutenant Colonel Martin and my CEO, Ms. Sarah Lane. Valley Healthcare is a location that's near and dear to my heart. It's in my district, but it came about right after I was elected. Everything was happening from Washington down. Congressman Bishop and everybody was there to celebrate the opening of that facility. And they've done nothing but great work there since I've been in office. But on that August, it's July 9th? August 9th. Okay, what time?
What time are
We have a council meeting that morning, starts at 9 o'clock, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so the first day of treatment will be August 4th. There's a soft opening on August 3rd. And then our hours will be 0800 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, okay.
And it's 11 days.
Okay, we'll all be at the facility?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
At the Civic Center.
Yeah, at Civic Center, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Civic Center is a primary site, and there will probably be 100 personnel there. There'll probably be about 60 out in Beauregard at the Providence Baptist Church, and we'll be driving our members that will serve the satellite site in Stewart County out to Stewart County each day and bringing them back to the Civic Center.
Have you ever had too many people to show up?
Yes, we have, and we hope that's the problem, and that's where, you know, we'll interface, you know, with, as I said before, your sheriff's department and your police department to help us organize that. We cannot, by rules of the IRT, cannot bring our own security personnel.
Okay, thank you. We'll make sure we get the people out. Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity, and it came to mind because I had a constituent that spoke with me about 2 or 3 months ago that were having she was having dental problems and her friend was having some eye problems. And it was like everything it rained all at one time. I had spoken with the city manager about things we're trying to do as far as helping with rooftops and things. And it's just everything was happening to this one family. So I'll get the word out, and everybody else will. So we wish you nothing but success. Thank you for being here and working with my CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, and you have a beautiful city. On my visits, I've gone along the Riverwalk and everything, and I really like running along there, so it's great.
We like to hear that. Councilor Woodson.
Yes, thank you very much. You answered one of the questions already, Lieutenant Colonel Martin. I was asking where the location is. It's going to be at the Civic Center. Ms. Lane, can you get us like a flyer or something that we can put on our Facebook? If you can send it to the clerk of council, she can pass it. And then that way we can put it, and if you don't mind, I'd like to translate it in Spanish so that we can get it out there also. I want to apologize ahead of time for August 9th. I will not be in the area. I'm going through a training class for 7 days. I won't be here. But I would love to come before then and visit. I don't know, I might take some services too. I need some stuff. But just wanted to say, you need translators? Okay. And I was going to mention also the community warriors. This is something they love to do to help. So if you need volunteers, like, you know, they can't arrest anybody, but for security, get paperwork done, whatever you need, they'll be more than happy. When we did COVID, I belong to the organization, and when we did COVID, we were out at the old doctor's hospital doing the paperwork, processing people, getting everybody in line, and then all they did was just move, because all they walked in and got their shots and walked out, everything else was done. So if you need any help, Ms. Lane, you can just contact me and I can give you our platoon leader's number, and I can promise you they'll be happy to help.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you both.
Councilor Thomas.
It seems in the last couple of days I have had a very distinct pleasure. Yesterday, Councilor Allen and I had the opportunity to tour the new Mercer Medical School in downtown Columbus, and to see some of the kinds of things that they are doing was just tremendous. And now to have you come and bring this issue to us also, and the service that you will provide is just, just outstanding. One of my questions is, I want to make sure the people who can take advantage of this as patients, active military, retired military, spouses, dependents,
anyone.
all of those things?
We don't qualify, we don't sort, anyone that wants to show up, we'll triage them to see, if they have a dental issue, if they have an eye issue, if they need a medical screening, and we'll treat them.
And Colonel, are you saying they don't have to be military connected in any way?
Correct.
I can go down there and have my tooth pulled?
Absolutely. One of the big populations that we served in Kodiak Island, which is kind of not known, is people think of our native citizens up there. But they're actually very supported by the Native Citizen Associations up there and pretty well taken care of. But there was a very large Philippine population that moved up to Kodiak to service the fish canneries back in the day when they canned all the fish. And they stayed on. So we were servicing a large Filipino population up there.
Great, and I would suggest to the mayor and the city manager who are going to help you put together this publicity that you make clear that it's anybody. It doesn't have to be military connected. And I would recommend that if you have a chance, you ought to go down to the Mercer Medical School and take a look at what they're doing down there. It's going to be fantastic for the city of Columbus, and we welcome you also. You could also, float down the river on the raft or, whatever, so.
We have these things called MWR events, Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, and that's our plan is to do one of the, make the river rafting available for
Good, good. Thank you for coming.
All right. So, Colonel, thank you. Sarah, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, the final update tonight is a waste collection update. We have Director Drell Short with us.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing fine today. So I'm going to give you a very brief update on waste collection. I had a handout for you. I hope you've already received it, which is if you don't have it yet, it will help to explain the rotation of those routes. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate it. So to start it off, though, I wanted to talk about IPL and let you know that we have completed our cart delivery service for the black and green carts. We delivered 112,169 carts to approximately 56,084 households. Now, we do have some that are waiting still for the 64-gallon carts. We were notified today that they will be here on July the 11th and that our IPL team will be delivering these carts and swapping them out for the 96-gallon carts. Now, the one thing I did want to make sure you all understood is that we have approximately 594 work orders from people who are probably disabled, older individuals that requested the 64-gallon cart. We went through these work orders and we vetted those that are already on our disability services. That means we go onto their property, we get their cart, we bring it to the street, we empty it, and we take it back to the cart. So they will not receive the 64-gallon cart. They will maintain the 96-gallon because we're the ones that are moving it for them. It stays in the front of their property and they just put the trash in there, but we literally take it to the truck, empty it, and take it back. So they will maintain the 96-gallon cart and not the 64-gallon cart. But the other ones will get the swapped cart that requested that are not on this service. I also wanted to let you know that we were notified last week that effective this Saturday, or Friday actually, July 1st, that Saturday use of inmates will no longer be available to us. That is a major blow for waste collection, but we are already strategizing, figuring out how we're going to be able to work with this. Visitation for these inmates has been reestablished. They do not have to schedule time to meet with their families. They just have to be there in the jail if their family pops up and wants to see them. So we will no longer be able to use inmates on Saturdays, and that's an unfortunate thing because we do use them on Saturdays to help catch up if we get behind or we weren't able to get a route completed because of the fact the trucks went down or something of that nature. So we will continue to strategize and figure out how we're going to fill that void. Waste collection is still working our recruitment strategy for all of our critical vacancies that we have. We're still doing all of the job fairs. We still have our QR codes. We still have our Join Our Team logo. We've got it all out there, and we are consistently looking at people, hiring people. We've hired 7 drivers since May, which is great for us. We've hired about 6 backmen. 3 stayed, 2 didn't show, and 1 just didn't come back. So that's just part of the nature of the beast for waste collection. So in talking about waste collection, I wanted to go over some particulars as it relates to waste collection. I wanted to make sure that we are all on the same page as it relates to what I'm talking about, because I know sometimes I'm speaking in the jargon for the industry and you all may not understand it. So first and foremost, let's talk about uncontainerized yard waste. That is your large piles, your grab-all piles of limbs or tree branches or hedges or something of that nature. They have to be 4 feet in length and the limbs cannot exceed 6 inches in diameter. That is collected by waste collection. That is collected with our grab-alls. We have approximately 10 grab-alls in our fleet, and every day that we have a person eligible or available to drive, I should say, we are putting them on that grab-all and putting them out there, and they are running the routes. Right now, we are working on a 1-week backlog for grab-all collection, but that is shrinking every day because of these new hires. We're able to take grab-all drivers off the garbage trucks and put them back in the grab-alls. So we are working that every day. Wanted to remind you, though, that we still want to go to a work order system, but right now we are continuing to run all of our daily routes. Bulk waste, if you know, we had approximately 341 work orders for bulk waste collection submitted. We had 285 green waste collected. We had 76 junk waste collected, and we are still using our emergency vendors for collection. As of June the 1st, they picked up 430.79 tons. That equals to about 361 trips that they've made to the landfill, which is a lot of waste. So containerized yard waste, that's what we have the green cans for. That is our AmWaste contractor. And the containerized yard waste is collected weekly with the exception of the last 16 routes that AmWaste took on after they already had 40 routes. If you remember in December, we came back before you and we said we have no one to drive those trucks and we wanted to ask AmWaste to take on those last 16 routes. They agreed. But they agreed under the premise that they would be able to rotate those last 16 routes into the 40 that they're already working. So that's what I gave you the handout for. And if you look at it, I think that's the next one, the next slide. I've shown this slide before, showing the rotating schedule, but I made up a different one that I think will do you more justice, and that's the one that you have right now. If you look at the first sheet, it says week A. It has everything if you look at the first section, it says week A, Monday, it has 14 routes. All of those routes are incorporated in the 56 routes that we have total. So AmWaste had 10 routes a day that they had to pick up initially. We asked them to come back and take on the other 16 routes. That's 4 additional routes a day. So if you notice, everything that's listed in yellow is CCG. Those were the 4 routes that they are rotating into the 10 routes that are up above. So if you go to the third page, which should be, I believe it is going to be page C. It's going to say week C. Let me pull mine out just so I'm with you to make sure. Go 2 pages over, it's going to say week B. I'm sorry. And if you notice, the top 4 are in red. That means that those routes have been put back in the rotation for week B. The blue is the standard route that they're running that day, and then the yellow are the 4 routes that they are skipping that day because they added the other 4 routes into the rotation for a total of 14 routes. And if you go on to the next page, each page is Monday, Tuesday, the second page will be Thursday and Friday, and the last one would be week C, and it will show you the same thing again. Those routes in red were the previous week's routes that were skipped, but are now added back into the rotation.
So how do you simplify this for the citizens?
That is,
Yeah.
it is a lot of information, and that's why we haven't published anything, because we knew it would be very complex, and we couldn't figure out a better way of explaining it to them, and we're trying to explain it to you the easiest way that we know how.
Really?
Honestly, it is a lot. And I will tell you this, and I gave you a handout for this reason, because you can take this home, and if you know, right now, this week, we are working in week B, you can look on your sheet and you can see whether or not, if a person calls you that lives on 54th Street to Manchester to Veterans Parkway, they were missed in week B. But when you go into week C, they are added back into that rotation, they're red.
So
Well,
is there,
I could read this and a book on astrophysics in the same weekend, and I'd have a better chance of understanding the astrophysics.
Yeah,
I'm just
so-
telling you, this is.
The easiest way I can explain it to you is each day we have 14 routes.
well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Is there a way to do it by zip code?
I would have to go back in all honesty and look at the map with the zip codes to make sure none cross over.
Well, you do the household waste pickup, there's a map.
Mhm.
And based on that color-coded map, it shows whether you get picked up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Correct.
You could not do a map like that for this.
I would have to go back and put all the areas, that's the ones that I'm concerned about, not the
Well,
subdivisions, but
and we're
the
not gonna
areas.
resolve it here, Mayor, but we've got to. I think I've got a resolution. Okay, that's
Okay.
good.
All right, fix it.
We add a week D. We do, when we
No, it
do, we do 4 weeks instead of 3 weeks. There's 4 weeks to a month.
Correct.
And so we we add the 4th week, and those that can't be covered in that week, the reds, they go to week D.
No, you're coming.
Or we create we create it so that we add another week in the rotation so that everybody is getting picked up. It might be once a month, but at least they will know when that they set out their garbage on this day, and it's gonna be picked up that day.
Right.
I'm getting calls where some of them, they get picked up every other week, some getting picked up on, sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 6. I think I think from what I'm hearing the citizens say, they understand the situation that we're in, but they want to be able to plan. They want to know that when they set their garbage can out, that it's gonna happen that day. And they're not calling 311, and 311 is telling them, just leave it out there, we'll get to it.
Right.
It makes the.
So, Mr. Mayor, we're gonna have to figure out, this, I had not seen this, but we're gonna come back on the second Tuesday in July, the next business meeting, and hopefully we can have a simplified, yes, at that time. And so, I know that we're not gonna resolve it tonight. I think I wanted her to just update you and share a few things with you about where they are. But I'd like to come back with a very simple way, and it's gonna be tough, I know.
It is, and it's only because we're working from the original schedule that they
Yeah.
had. and
So-
that they're rotating
so-
these in.
So
to
so
their
let
schedule.
us leave this, what she has, and then come
Well,
back.
We've got three counselors queued up.
Sure.
Counselor Davis.
And look, I don't mean any disrespect, and as much as I'd like to believe everybody, I don't know if it's gonna get any simpler. I really don't, and I really don't know what we're trying to communicate here tonight. When I look at this and I listen, it's just, I interpret it as we can't get the job done. That's the way I interpret it.
Well-
And I'm still, I've said it many, many times, you know, I think there's solutions out there. It's just a matter if we're searching for them to get it done. And, you know, I'm at a loss of words on what I can tell my constituents. I just, I think an email just came, Mayor, to you and City Manager, a subdivision that I called in 3 weeks ago, and now it's back on the list again. I'm at a loss of words of what to tell my constituents other than just call it in and wait. And they might not, they may get it, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but I don't mean any disrespect by it, but, I mean, we're in a situation where it's not easy dealing with our constituents and what they're expecting, and
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing the progress. I just keep seeing it like we're just going in circles. But anyway,
Well-
you guys have heard me say it over and over, so I'm gonna leave it there.
Thank you. Counselor Thomas?
I want to read you an email I received while you were talking. One problem is I cut my grass today and put my full green can out. It is not picked up for 2 weeks. That means I have nothing to put my grass clippings in for 2 weeks. My grass needs to be cut every week to maintain my property. 2 green cans may not solve the problem if I only get picked up every 3 weeks. Okay? That's the kind of thing that I think we're all hearing time and time and time again. What I would like for you to do, Mr. City Manager, and I was thinking of this last night, and I thought, okay, I'm going to say to Director Drayle, what will it take to solve this problem? Wait. I don't want you to answer that tonight. I want you to think of, if, you know, the old saying about if money were no object, what would it do? What will it take to solve this problem? We can solve this problem some way or another.
And if I may,
But I do want you to come back, when you come back in 2 weeks or whenever you come back with this, that you bring us a solution that may not be this same process, but it will be the solution so that I don't continue to get emails that say they haven't picked up my grass clippings in 3 weeks or in 6 weeks or whatever. And I'm as frustrated, I think, as you are.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you
Yeah,
are.
that's right.
And
We all are.
we
Yeah.
all are. And so let's see if there's not some solution that we can come up with. Surely there is. And Director Short, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
and
no, you're
I
fine.
apologize.
No,
but
you're fine.
Well-
this is one of those things that we just hear over and over and over and over and over again.
And of course, you know, that's why I want to come back in 2 weeks. And I think when we come back, you know, we will, you know, I think we can tell you, I think we already know, but we'll tell you what the problem is. And of course, we know it starts with drivers. You know, we've got equipment, we don't have drivers. And we're still hearing that from Public Works. And let me tell you, yeah, it's all over. Mayor, we were, and let me tell you about a call I got from Metro. I mean, it's drivers. I got a call just yesterday from Metro, and they, about critical vacancies drivers are leaving every single day. And what the director said to me yesterday is I don't know what we're going to do. We have been running Saturday bus schedules for more than a year because we can't hire drivers. And, you know, I think you heard me say at the last council meeting, public transit got all this money, but it does no good to have the money and you can't hire drivers. And what I heard from her yesterday is that the only option that we have at this point is to cut Saturday service. No service, because we don't have drivers. That's what I heard just last night. And I'm hearing from her every day. And so, you know, I mean, I don't know where these drivers are going somewhere, you know, and, but you can't find them, you can't hire them, Metro can't, they're CDL drivers, and we got to turn somewhere.
All right, we've got two more individuals queued up. Councilor Crabb?
Thank you. I jumped in earlier on this last time, and I want to back up, and I want to publicly thank you and Lisa Goodwin, because I have called you twice in the last 2 weeks, and both times, one, it took a little bit longer than expected, but it got done, it got picked up, and then one, you got to it that very same day, and it was a good thing you did, because we were about to have chaos on a cul-de-sac. Yeah. And I mean, it was amazing, and fortunately, my constituents did appreciate it, and they expressed their appreciation. When citizens call me and they're frustrated and they ask me what we can do, I tell them what my husband's doing. My husband has not put out a green can maybe once since we got it, and that was when we were trimming back our hedges, and we put some of the stuff in there. My husband has stopped he has stopped bagging his grass. And I say that because I don't do anything outside.
Yeah, he said his grass.
You know, I say it's his grass. He owns it. He has stopped bagging his grass, and he has allowed the grass to mulch our yard. And in this heat, it has been a godsend. Our grass is not brown. It is nice and green in the front yard. Our yard looks beautiful. Another thing that we're not doing is we are not putting our leaves into the green bin either. We are raking them up and putting them around our flower beds in the backyard. We are doing whatever we can do to limit the impact on the city. And this is what I'm telling the people who call me. We have to look for creative ways to limit the impact on the city, because we are trying our best to handle this situation, but it needs to be, the citizens have got to help us. It's to that point where we can't do it without the citizens understanding. You can't just keep on doing the same things that you've always been doing throughout the years and expect us to just take care of it. We can't. We can't at this point in time. And so I just ask them to look for ways to lessen the burden on the city. And if we all spread that message, then maybe we can get ahead of this. But I appreciate everything you're doing.
And I wish a lot of our residents would take that up and use it for mulch, because it is very good for your grass.
It is. I mean, our yard looks great.
Councilor Tucker?
Director Short.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a 3-week cycle?
Yes,
with
ma'am.
this? And when it's the actual week, do you go down every road? Because that's what.
Yes, this is Amway's schedule, so this is what they're doing every single road in Muskogee County.
Okay. And the only reason why I'm asking, because it's the same thing with,
Right. But if I may,
Counselor-
Mr. City Manager, I do want to let the council know that I am working with purchasing right now. We are at the end of the contract with our contractor, and we are making some amendments to it, one of which is taking on all 56 routes. The main thing that we are asking them to do is not change the collection days for our staff, for the city, excuse me, which means that they will continue to pick up on a 4-day work week instead of the 5-day work week that they're asking for, because then everybody would have to change their collection day, and we don't want to go through that. So we are working right now with them, getting that contract together, which would incorporate all of the city, them handling everything for yard waste, with the exception of the grab-all piles. We will still have to be responsible for those. So I'm hopeful that when that contract is signed and that starts, that the rotation will stop for sure, because they'll have all 56 routes.
Well, and then just other challenges, but we'll talk about it
Oh, yes.
when we come back.
Okay.
But you just informed the council that you can't get inmates on Saturdays anymore.
We cannot get inmates on Saturdays.
So, you know,
Starting
that
this
that was a
Saturday.
makeup day. And, and then you've had challenges not having enough inmates
Correct.
because it's so hot outside, they're sick.
Well, they're sick, and each one has a different security level, number one. Then you have to look at the medical condition of the inmate, number two, whether or not they can get on the back of the truck. I mean, there are so many different
So
things that
we're
the camp has
faced
to look
with
at.
a challenge that we've never seen before. And so, yeah, we're gonna come back and talk about it. And Mayor, I just gotta say this, I know I'm moving from Metro to Public Works, but we are challenged with drivers. But Mayor, I wanted to say, you know, we just left Savannah, and we were in the hub cities, mayors, and city managers meeting, and the number one subject in that meeting was public safety. And it is so terrible. I mean, the Atlanta mayor was there, the Savannah mayor was there, just on down the line. And Mayor, I don't know how you felt, but it's so bad in their cities, I didn't want to even talk about Columbus. I mean, really. That's how terrible, and you know, we're concerned about Columbus, but I wanted you to know that, I mean, when you hear them talk, from Savannah mayor to wherever, from Hinesville, because they started on one side of the room and they came all the way around, and the mayor, we were on this side of the room. When they got to us, I'm like, what? We don't need to say anything. It's so terrible. And so I just want to make that point.
Are you saying public safety or public?
No, this was public safety. I mean, when you hear the Macon mayor talks about 250 down and you know, I mean, I'm like, and then they talk about the violent crime in their communities and what's going on. I mean, this is, we didn't have time to talk about anything else, but it was so bad that, you know, when they got done with their problems, it's like, we don't need to say anything. It's that terrible. But anyway, but we're gonna come back, Councilor Thomas, and do as you asked us to do.
Is that any further?
That's it, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. We'll move on to the clerk's agenda.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. For the clerk's agenda, item 1, this is a resolution to cancel the July 5th and August 2nd proclamation sessions.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
We cancel July the 5th meeting.
Item number 2, this is a resolution excusing Councilor Barnes from
Motion for approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. And it passes.
Item number 5, this is an email correspondence from Mr. Chris Whiteman. He's resigning from his seat on the Development Authority of Columbus.
Move it
Should
be
be
received
received.
with regrets. Motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. And it's.
And I did just want to add that Councilor Garrett is going to be nominating Travis Chambers. And so we will have this listed for nominations at the next meeting. Item 6 are minutes of various boards to be received.
Move to be received. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, they're accepted.
Next, we have board appointments. We will defer the mayor's appointment. We will also be deferring the appointments to the Keep Columbus Beautiful Commission and the Columbus Aquatics Commission to allow for the city manager and deputy city managers to review the recommendations that were presented at the last meeting. Next, we have council appointments. Any nominations would be listed for the next meeting. For the tree board, we have the seats of Chris Henson, Troy Keller, and Frank Tommy. These 3 seats are open for nominations. Next, we have the Valley Partnership Joint Development Authority, the seat of Gary Jones, who has passed away. This seat is open for nominations. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Just so you'll know, I think we've reached out to the Chamber of Commerce to talk to them about Mr. Jones' position. So
Yes, sir.
we
and
should be hearing from them soon.
I'm sorry?
We should be hearing from them soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Look at your notes.
Oh, sorry. I get you, yeah. Councilor
Yes.
Tucker?
Mr. Timothy, I'm trying to see his last name, Carter, reached out to me about that Carver Park issue in reference to closing that back gate and wanted an updated status. Can you add that to the agenda? That way, the city manager can know to reach out. I know he stepped out.
Okay.
But if you need his phone number, I think you have the information because he spoke on the public agenda. But
Okay.
he's looking for an update.
Update.
Mhm.
Okay. We will
Thank
pass this information to the city manager.
Thank you.
You'll get it later.
And that's an update on the Carver Park closing, Mr. City Manager, but I will get with you to give you that information.
Oh, you should have kept them for me.
I can't do it to him.
Madam Clerk, that it for your agenda?
Yes, sir,
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Underwood, if you still have, we'll afford you 3 additional minutes if you've waited around to take advantage of that. And same rules, we'll get it started, and you can have 3 minutes to complete your.
I'm impressed with getting out of here early.
So, thank you once again, Mayor, Council, Secretary Andrew, for this. I also wanted to bring up the issue of the need for an LGBT liaison to the mayor's office. I believe that J.C. Jenkins resigned from the position, I believe last year, and I believe that the position is open as well. And I would like to ask about the availability or what are the qualifications for that position as well. And finally, the need for a LGBT resources page on the website. So many cities, including Atlanta, including Alexandria, Virginia, including even Birmingham, Alabama, have LGBT resources pages on their websites, which include not just who is the liaison for the mayor's office and the police department, but also for the city council, but also for for links to nonprofit organizations which specialize in LGBT relevant resources, like the Trevor Project, like Listen, like so many other organizations. And I believe that would be a very welcome addition to the city government to the city government website. And I've also sent links to that to the mayor's office as well, and to Norman Hartman, the chair of the UDP Commission. And I would love to offer my services in that role as well, because I believe that we need a person in the position of the LGBT liaison to the mayor to keep our city website updated and provide these services and links to resources for our local community. And also, I definitely want to to emphasize once again the need for a non-discrimination ordinance to cover our city workers, our public, from discrimination as well. And I'm open to any questions as well.
Mr. Underwood, again, thank you for your interest. Thank you for your efforts. You've always been present anytime we've had a Pride celebration, and I know this last year's is the biggest one I remember. I mean, it stretched a full block, and I was delighted to see the wide range of diversity among the people who set up booths.
Yes.
And so I thank you for your efforts with that, and I thank you for your offer, and we will keep that in mind too. We are going to work on the website. The city manager and I have actually talked about our website, making it more transactional, a little bit more functional, and making sure that all of the commissions have some type of access provided to the public so that people can access some of these resources. So I thank you for sharing those links with us too.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, so
Mayor, one more.
All right.
Mayor wants to talk.
Okay. Councilor Tucker?
On tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., the A.J. McClung mural will be unveiled. And it was the last event for our Juneteenth Jubilee, our Unity Week and Juneteenth Jubilee. So I just wanted to put that out there. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock at A.J. McClung.
I will be there. And I think it's going to be a great event too as we unveil that. That's a very talented young man that worked on that. And thank you for your efforts during the Unity Week. I think for a first attempt at it, I thought it was exceptional. So I think you did a great job.
And thank you all for your support. I'm always going to remember our city manager and that free at last. Thank God. So, but I'm very appreciative of all the support that we got from community partners and also individuals that work within our city government. So just want to thank everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilor Davis.
Mr. City Manager, just a quick question. The ARP grants, this is out in the lobby and I picked it up. Can you still apply today?
Yes.
You can. So is there a deadline on
When the money runs out.
Until,
anything like that, or when?
until the money is gone.
Yeah, and we just recently
the money runs out?
We just recently got another $4 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. She said, which, come around and tell them. The small business? We're gonna revisit and,
Yes, so we have closed the portal, so there's not new applications until we get the contract with the state signed for the additional $4 million. Then we'll open the portal back up with a new link to that, so.
but then I need to ask a question because of the lag. I mean, I know we like to have the bird in hand, but we could continue to take them and process them with condition, but you're waiting on the rules from state?
We are wanting to make sure that the state agrees with the guidelines that we have for our program to make sure that that is acceptable for their program before we have businesses go to a lot of work.
Well, let me just make this point. Based on the allocation coming from the state, we still have a lot of money pending, and the portals will reopen, and because we got to get rid of, we've got to make sure we get this money to small businesses, nonprofits, and tourism business to make sure that we keep our economy going, you know?
Well, just let me ask this. When you say the reopen the portal, I mean, so can people apply today?
No, the portal
Okay.
is closed because we have used, I made the presentation, I think, at the last meeting. We have really used up the amount of money that we have allocated. We have more applications for small business grants, not as many for nonprofits and the tourism economics. So we want to divert the balance of the nonprofit and the tourism to take care of all of the small business that have already submitted that would use up our allocation. And then we have this second round coming from the state. The finance director and I just sat on a webinar yesterday about our project as well as other projects throughout the state. So that process is coming.
Are we communicating that on this website if they were to go to this website?
If they go to the website, it should say.
Or the chamber?
The applications are no longer being accepted, but I'll check on that.
Well,
That's really what I'm asking. Can they go there and see that, or?
Yeah, I've got to talk to
I guess my point is, if I just picked this up and I saw it and I have to ask a question, I know there's a lot of other people that are seeing these things around.
And I think we don't need to just say the porters are closed. We need to explain to them that they are going to reopen, and we just don't have a date. Because, and it would be my preference if it makes sense to not stop receiving the applications and go ahead and get them processed, because it's not like we have a huge staff processing, and it has taken longer than I want it to take.
Yes, sir.
And I've called and.
Well, and I think the idea is to try to loosen up the requirements as much as the state will allow us.
Absolutely.
So that we can, because right now it's a very challenging, tedious process. In support of what the city manager is saying, though, if anybody wants to apply based on the current requirements, it's everything but a certainty that it will meet the requirements that we re-release.
Because the new requirements won't be as stringent as the old requirements. But I'm saying, just think if we were able to get,
So
and
call
she's
Ms.
just
Hodge and
smiling,
have her-
you know.
No, I get it.
I'll talk to
Do
you.
you have a timeline on when you're going to meet with the state so that we can understand what the new guidelines are going to be?
So we had a webinar with them yesterday.
Yep.
We have not received the agreement that we have to sign the terms and conditions with the state. So that will dictate a lot of that, but we want to send our guidelines to the state to make sure that they accept everything that we have done with our program that will be acceptable to their program. And so we're trying to work through that process.
Okay. All right.
Wait.
Go ahead. Counselor Woodson.
Yes. Ms. Pam, could you let us know as soon as the portals open? I've gotten 3 calls today alone, of businesses that heard what we did in Oakland Park and heard that I was doing this. And I got 3 today that I'm going to meet tomorrow. And I'm just going to tell them, prepare all the paperwork, everything you need until the portal opens again. But I want to make sure that I have a clear understanding. Everyone that submitted their application prior to this closing date, those applications are being looked at and approved?
Those applications until we run out of money, and then those applications will be transferred to the state program. So we're keeping all of those existing applicants in line, so when the state opens up, those will be the first ones that are processed.
So let's say, just to make it simplified, let's say I submitted an application and the money ran out. You still have my application there until you get the additional fund. When you get the additional fund, then you will look at my application first, because I've been waiting for the funding.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
So
what
I
I'm
gotta
saying,
explain that. I
Councilor
gotta
Woodson.
explain that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd like to figure out how we can process that application.
Faster.
Yeah. Now, pending the approval of the new guidelines from the state, and then we can just start making the award. But
Well, I just need to.
we've got money. We'll figure
I
it
just
out.
need to I just need to be in the loop, because I'm having people call me and people that already submitted it. And I have to answer to these individuals, and unfortunately, Rob is getting overwhelmed with me trying to ask him, hey, did this one go through? Is this one been, so he's overwhelmed, and he's only one person. So I just want to know, I'm going to go to these 3 businesses tomorrow. I'm going to explain what we just talked about now, and then for them to get all their stuff together, and then once the portal's open, I'll go back to them and help them submit the stuff then.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Counselor Crabb?
Just a quick suggestion, I'm sure IT can do this. Well, on that page, when they go to that page, explain the situation, and then they can put in their name and email address, and when the portal opens back up, they get notified that the portal is now open and their applications can be submitted.
Okay.
That's good.
Good. Counselor Tucker?
Do we need to to approve changing the money that you had under tourism and nonprofit? Do we need to do a resolution to move that money over to for-profit that way? Because like Overflow called me, I think they're number 5. I spoke with Tiffany, and I think that was one of the things that, you know, we needed to do in order to.
We will bring that back on July 12th. We wanted to finalize all of the applicants that we had for the nonprofit and the tourism, so I have an exact amount of how much we're requesting to reallocate to the small business, so that'll come back on July 12th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, it seems to be all the business that needs to come up. There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned.